Alright, we're moving on. The scenery's changed a little bit. It's no longer crystal everywhere. Oh, look at that, a behemoth. I think there's a treasure chest around here somewhere. Look at all these little potholes that are on the map. Ah, there we are. Oh yeah, that was worth it. Well, I guess money. You always want money. I'm sure there'll be a point where I'll need more money than I have, and I'll be upset that I have to grind to get it. So, might as well get it now. Ah, there's another treasure chest. Treasure sphere, or whatever I'm supposed to call these things. Okay. Run straight towards him. He saw me coming. I got turned around. Oh, no, that's the way we came. Idiot. What exactly are we looking at here? I mean, this wasn't part of the hanging edge, was it? And there is some crystal here. But I'm going to imagine it wasn't this crystal that we... Okay, so the flame... It was flames that turned into crystal. Alright, thanks, Saz. Okay, there's one of those,
Those will be our cold-blooded beasts, I take it.
Alright, okay, jump it. The architecture in this area is different, though. The hanging edge had a very, like, technological look to it. This place, everything looks like it's made out of stone. I will point out, though, something that I noticed while moving through here, and it was probably a result of the game designers' wish to not have the towns and all that kind of stuff, where everything was like one long dungeon crawl. They didn't really have an area like in 12, where they had like the city of Dalmasca, where it was this well-designed, or reasonably well-designed, but the architecture and all that had a certain nice look to it, and they spent a lot of time designing the area because you knew you were going to be there for a long time, and you're going to be there multiple times. Here, this is where we are now. This is the only time we're going to be here. And they did put some effort into designing, like, the backdrop and all that kind of stuff, but I look at certain things, like, I look at these building ruins and all that kind of stuff, and I see a certain simplicity to it. There's not a lot of detail. There's some texture map. There's another texture map going over top of it, showing the sort of like the overgrowth. But it's low res. The bump mapping's not very good. The geometry details simplistic. They just didn't put a lot of effort into this. Why should they, though? You're not going to spend much time here. There's another treasure chest. I think this is the same kind of enemy that we had fought early on in the game. Sort of like the first, or the second-ish kind of boss that you face. Only we're further along in the game. Our characters have actually leveled up a bit. They have their magic, they have their different roles, so we can storm through the thing pretty easy. Plus there were 3 of us instead of 2. So not only are we facing this thing, and it's got the help of a couple of other enemies helping it out. Got a little distracted there. I had to make sure I didn't die. Although it was probably unnecessary. I still got 5-star for that bullcrap. The levels that I'm at are almost full. 2 more for Saz. Vanille's got what, 3? Yeah, 3. And Lightning. 4. So I'm almost full in this area, so it'll give you a pretty good indication that it's going to expand in the not too distant future. Spark ring. Just standing around up here. It's not weird or anything. I'm not sure what this kind of area is really supposed to be. It was pointed out in the data log that the hanging edge was sort of an abandoned section of Cocoon. Oh, okay, you know what? That's definitely part of hanging edge there. That was the road. So perhaps hanging edge had and was hanging above this. Yeah, there's some of it up there. And this is just another old part of Cocoon that nobody really went to anymore. It's pointed out in the data log. I didn't go through it on camera or anything like that. But they talk about how the hanging edge is a depopulated area of Cocoon. Nobody lives there anymore because it took a lot of damage during the war with Pulse. So, like, they're like, hey, I mean, not going to be here anymore.
It looks like we can get through here.
Does it really? I wonder if I can go back.
Around and make things easier on ourselves.
Yep. Are all the flips necessary? I'm not a huge fan of all of the jumpy, flippy stuff. From what I understand, it was... in this game, it was all based around the idea of sort of trying to replicate the look of the combat that was seen in the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. Whether that was a good idea or not, well, my opinion is that it kind of strains my suspension of disbelief while I'm watching these characters hop around all crazy like. Now, they attempted to explain it a little bit. Am I really supposed to be going this way? They try to explain the like the crazy agility that Lightning has and her ability to jump off of ridiculously high platforms and all that kind of thing as there being some sort of a technological solution to that. She is... you can't... maybe you can see it on her fingers. Not really. You've seen it in some of the cutscenes, though, where she snaps her fingers and then suddenly she gets like surrounded by this blue shit and then she starts hopping around. Of course, it's not like stated that that's what she's doing during the battles and all that kind of stuff. You'd have to assume because she is so much more agile than any of the other characters. It does just sort of come across as kind of strange, though. Although it is a kind of an irritating thing that they did in Advent Children as well. They attempted in that movie to sort of answer... yeah, I mean, in one way it's a simple question, in another way it's really not. Okay, I just went around. How do you represent a character as being extraordinarily powerful? Now, the 2 or 3 ways I can think of is one, like in a world like this, you can show them having crazy magic powers, all that kind of stuff. There's this sort of tank approach where you show a person being like ridiculously strong and like ridiculously resilient to damage, which I guess is a way of doing that. The third way, and it's what they're doing here, is to make a character ridiculously agile, doing crazy flips and backflips and doing things that are just physically impossible. And it's, well, they did it in Advent Children, but it's something I tend to see with a lot. You tend to see it a lot with like female characters, where they, well, I mean, just take a look at Lightning. She doesn't look like she has any strength to her. So they, in order to make her more believable, they have to make her less believable in a lot of ways. So she's doing like insanely agile things, hopping around and all that kind of stuff. Like I said before, they tried to explain it away with that technological solution. But just like with an Advent Children, we had Cloud just flipping through the air and basically flying at times, it just struck me as weird. It's a very Japanese thing, though. Yep, new save slot every time, I guess. Fill up my hard drive.
Stay close. I want to look around.
What the hell is this thing supposed to be? I mean, okay, so it's got to be another one of the Sanctum's robotic monsters. Oh, we're pretty close to a stagger. Yeah, there we go. And we took a lot of damage even before we staggered it, so not a terribly difficult fight. It's a little out of place here.
Last moments.
Okay, so that was only the first part of the fight. Oh, barrier. Okay, now it's taking a lot more damage. As the only commando in this group, Lightning's got to jump up there and just sort of be hovering up there during the attacks, while the other two characters are down at the bottom just casting magic. And Saz has got a gun, but he's not really using it. The scale of the fight, the scale of the monster, the fact that it's flying, is kind of putting an unusual, like, camera angle setup, where the camera more or less has to follow Lightning around because she's the only one actively moving around the field. And when she's standing on the ground, it zooms out and you can see the other two characters, but half the time you can really only see Lightning fighting this thing. It's kind of strange. New roles have been unlocked. Synergist and Saboteur.
Check it out.
Come on, hop to it. Let's go.
make things easier?
Uh-huh. Yeah, knowing our luck,
Huh?
it's probably missing an engine.
You shouldn't be so negative.
And you shouldn't get your hopes up.